Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So we're going to have a little cozy chat today. I've got my coffee, it's all ready, it's freezing outside. I don't even know what day it is sometimes at the moment during lockdown, but I'm pretty sure today's Friday. Might be wrong. But I've come on to talk to you about calorie counting. So a lot of people have been asking me about the benefits of Slim & Well, the benefits of calorie counting, which do I prefer, one versus the other, or any tips on how to calorie count effectively. So that is what I'm going to do. So just a reminder, I lost all of my weight on Slim & Well. I never calorie counted. It's quite hard to say. I never calorie counted at all back in the day. So I lost my weight a long time ago. I lost 3 stone in 3 months, and I did that purely on Slim & Well and hardly any exercise. So I obviously was creating a calorie deficit naturally. So that is what Slim & Well did. Slim & Well decided that there's got to be something better out there than just simply counting calories. So they came up with food optimizing, and it was designed really to take away the need to count every little thing and just to give you more psychological support. If you choose to calorie count at home, you're not getting the image therapy, you're not getting that consultant who's supporting you, you're not getting the group support, you're not getting all of those extra things that you get with Slim & Well, which are so key. However, some people don't get on with Slim & Well or Weight Watchers or anything like that. So there is the world of calorie counting. Calorie counting has become really popular over the past couple of years because a lot of personal trainers talk about it. A lot of people have kind of moved away from plans. And to be perfectly honest, it's just about what suits you. As a consultant, I was a consultant I was a manager and a consultant for 14 years. I was never keen on calorie counting, only because I didn't want people getting obsessed with it, and I didn't believe in the nutritional side of it. So for example, if you wanted to just starve yourself all day and then blow it all, like every single calorie on a McDonald's in the evening and a bottle of wine and whatever, technically you could and still lose weight. But it's not really healthy, is it? So I preferred Slim & Well for a long time, purely because it was more about a lifestyle change. It wasn't a diet. You didn't have to feel restricted. You didn't have to count every single little thing. But there came a point where I've been doing Slim & Well so long, I got so complacent, and I wanted to do something different and something fresh. I've tried calorie counting in the past, but I didn't really commit to it probably fully. Then I did my 12-week challenge and I thought, right, that is it. I'm going to commit to this properly, because I had to tick the box off every day that I was sticking to my calories, and I learned so much from doing it. So I completely understand the benefits of it. It just depends really which one suits your lifestyle more. I would say calorie counting really isn't a way of life. It's not something anyone would do, you know, forever, I issue. So recently I haven't been tracking every single day, and now I'm at the point where I don't necessarily need to track everything. So I don't, you know, I'm not in like weight loss mode, if you like. So prior to that, during my challenge, I would count every single thing, because a lot of things have got calories in, obviously. So now I don't count like green veg or anything like that, and I'm definitely not strict with like milk and things like that. So I've kind of now got to the point where I'm more about maintenance, so my calories have gone up. But yeah, so I'll give you some tips on calorie counting from what I have personally learned. It teaches you so much about portion sizes. So obviously on Slim & Well, certain foods are free. That's more kind of like reverse psychology tactics. So, you know, tactics sounds sinister. It's not sinister. It's more about the fact that it doesn't make you think of it like a diet. So yes, technically pasta's free, chicken's free and all of that, but what they're saying is do stop when you're full. You know, they're trying to get you to tune into your own kind of like hunger and the feeling of being full type messages from your brain. So yes, it's free, but they're not saying go and eat like 20 buckets of pasta. They're saying, you know, have the pasta, ideally get some protein in, ideally get a load of speed food on your plate, and then naturally then you're creating a calorie deficit without even really having to think about it. Sins are the things that are higher in calories, free foods are the things that are naturally low in energy density but will still fill you up. So it's just a really good healthy eating plan. Calorie counting is more of a diet. It will feel like a bit more of a diet. if to lose body fat, you need to create a deficit. Now, this isn't going to be a video about how many calories you should do. You can go off and do your research for that, but just don't go too low, otherwise it's just not going to be sustainable. So tip number one with calorie counting, make sure you set the amount that you're going to be having properly. Don't necessarily go with what MyFitnessPal says or anything like that. Go with like the proper calculators that are worked out on your own statistics. Don't copy anyone else, just do what works for you. And it will depend on how much you want to lose each week. I prefer now to just go sort of slow and steady so I don't feel too restricted. You know, it's entirely up to you what you do, but just make sure you do it sensibly. There's two apps that people tend to use. There's MyFitnessPal, which is free, or you can upgrade to the premium version. The free one is fine. Or the one that's becoming really popular now is called NutriCheck. So go and check them out and see which ones you prefer. So my other tips I've gotten written on my phone because this is now something I've learned since March. So I wanted to share them all with you. So the most important thing I would say is record it there and then. When I don't record it at the time of eating it, it can all go to pot, okay? So either you're guessing then later on or you've forgotten what the measurement was. The best thing you can do is just put it in your phone there and then. As you are making it, weigh it out and whack it in your phone. Also, have a think about what scales you're going to be using. So it's really important that the weights of things are correct. So I got some new digital scales and they weigh everything. So it's, you know, milk, I was weighing milk, but technically it's actually better to still use grams, which I learned. I thought you could use a more of a liquid metric, but the best way to do it is using grams. So make sure you've got a decent set of kitchen scales. Then if you are going to be weighing yourself at home, make sure you've got a decent set of bathroom scales. So body fat is just as important as what the scales say. The scales will not dictate your success. Measurements are a brilliant way of detecting how successful you're being, and also progress photos, because some days you're going to fluctuate. You know, you're going to have time of the month, you're going to have eaten more food the night before, etc, etc, etc. So when calorie counting, what a lot of people do is actually weigh themselves every single day and then take the average from that. So divide it by 7, whatever your average weight was, that's your weight. So you can calculate how much you've lost from there. So it's up to you again what you do. You don't even have to weigh yourself. You can just go on your measurements or your inches, but certainly get some decent scales. There is something a bit like what Slim and Will called flexible sins, and it's flexible calories. So what I have been advised is if I say had an event, well, none of us are going anywhere at the moment, but if I did, then I can kind of like shave off some of my calories through the week and bank them and then use them at the weekend. So at Slim and Will, they never used to encourage you to bank sins. I mean, if you wanted to and it worked for you and you had, I don't know, 70 a week say, and you wanted to use 50 for a bottle of wine and a takeaway on a Saturday night, and then the rest was what you've got left and that was it. It works for a lot of people, but Slim and Will didn't really encourage that because then you could be dieting and binging, which isn't what they're about. So with calorie counting though, you can do this, you can save them up and then use them at the weekend if you want to, but just understand that, you know, it's fine to be flexible. Like, everybody's got to have a life. It doesn't have to become this like obsession where you cannot go over your calories. It is something that's flexible, so it's got to fit in with your life. Another top tip, which is something that Ben and Emma, my trainers, Ben's my trainer, Emma's his partner who helps with the business, she's done the transformation herself. Obviously Ben is living proof that it works as well. And what they said that they do, which I thought was a really clever tip, was to sit down in the morning and actually plan all your food into MyFitnessPal first. So decide what you're going to have for breakfast, decide what you're going to have for lunch, decide what you're going to have for dinner, and then you can see how many calories you've got left for everything else. I'm a huge snacker, so I have to have a dessert. After my lunch, I have to have some yogurt. After my dinner, I have to have like a protein bar or something like that. It's just the way I am. I eat a lot of stuff through the day. I think it's because I work from home. So I'm definitely a main meal person, but I'm also a grazer. So I tend to go slightly lower calories on my main meals, and then I've got loads of calories for my snacks. It's up to you what you do. If you spend more calories on your main meals, you're probably going to be fuller. So overall, you might end up taking in less calories. Sometimes if I'm hungry, then I'll end up eating too many of like the protein bars and things that are higher in calories. So if you actually sit down and think about it and plan in what you're going to have, it's done then. You haven't got to track it as you go. So that's a really, really good tip. So it's definitely opened up a variety of more foods for me, and if I want a microwave meal from M&S, a green Thai curry that's less than 400 calories, I can have it, and I don't have to worry about it being too high in sins. So I like the fact that you can have more quick fixes on it. That suits my lifestyle with the twins at the moment. Still cook from scratch, and I'll come to that in a minute, but it is quite handy having quick fixes. Another thing you can do on MyFitnessPal is actually create recipes or create meals, which makes things a lot easier as well. So I put in how many grams of the mince I'm doing, how many kidney beans I'm doing, how much rice I'm going to have with it, etc, etc. Set it up as a recipe, and then once you've made it, weigh out your portion. So you've had 200 grams of that recipe. That's one way of doing it. Sometimes it's quite tempting just to cook for yourself, because then that's very, very easy to track, because whatever you've cooked is what you've eaten. So I'm not that keen on the fact that sometimes it can make you eat more separately as opposed to a family. So, you know, creating the family recipes is going to be really handy, and just taking that time aside to set that up first. Then if you have something regularly, for example my breakfast, I love to have my porridge, my wheat bran and a bit of protein powder, mix it all in, and then have it with blueberries. So I know the weights of what I'm going to be using each day. So I'll create a breakfast, I call it power porridge. So it's a meal and it's called power porridge, and then I just go into the app, plus it, power porridge, and all of the ingredients are put down for me and all of the nutritional information. So it's really, really good. But I mean, the brilliant thing about calorie counting is that when you've got the app, you can look at the macros as well. So you can have a little look at like how much protein you're getting, because it is really key to have more protein if you're trying to lose weight and if you're trying to stay fuller for longer and build muscle. And then you can keep an eye on things like the sugar, the fibre and all of that. So I don't set macro goals apart from to hit 100 grams of protein or more. So there's some great advantages, and it really, really opens your eyes to portion sizes. Like, oh my God. No wonder I got to the point where I'd stopped losing weight. So I was struggling a little bit, and I rejoined Slimming World, and I was doing it 100%, and I was filling in food diaries and all of that, and the scales were just not budging. But I was just eating too much. You know, I'm a smaller person now, therefore I need less calories. When I lost my 3 stone, I was a bigger person and I could get away with eating all of that, but now I can't. So yes, I exercise, and yes, I'm burning calories that way, but I don't use those to offset food. I don't then do like a big walk and burn, I don't know, 300 calories and then go and eat 300 calories. Like, that completely defeats the object for me. So it's really fascinating, and it makes you really look at the nutrition of things. Like, for example, if you want to do it alongside Slimming World, you can. So you can still follow Slimming World, but you can choose to weigh out your free foods. The only thing I'd say, if you're doing that, it will get a little bit complicated and slightly confusing, but I do know a lot of people, and I kind of do it myself subconsciously because Slimming World's in my blood, that calorie count alongside Slimming World. So if you want to do both, that's cool, but I would make sure that you're still focusing on your free food, your speed foods, your healthy extras, because they're weighed anyway, aren't they? And track your sins. But if you want to just keep a little eye on portion control, weigh it out, see how many calories you're having, and just keep an eye on it. I wouldn't do both together permanently, because it's just going to be too much. You're going to end up tracking everything and it's going to get really confusing. I'd pick one or the other, or if you're stuck and you've had a week where you're just not losing weight, you thought you were doing brilliantly, you can't understand what's going on, then you might just want to track for like a short period of time, just to open your eyes to it really. So let's have a look what other tips I put down. So my next tip would be liquids. So obviously things like milk, alcohol, all of those sort of things, they do need weighing. So you can measure them if you want to, but weighing it is actually apparently more accurate. I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm really, really bad at maths. I don't know if it's just because I panic about numbers. I find numbers and maths really quite hard to process. So I've got A-levels, I've got a 2-1 business degree, you know, I was great at school at like English and all that sort of thing. Maths, I could never, ever grasp it. I think because we had calculators, I just couldn't see the point of doing things in my head. So maths is not my strong point. So I have made a couple of little mistakes when it comes to like calorie counting. So make sure you are weighing out your fluids as well. You'd be quite shocked how many calories are in alcohol, for example. Yes, you're going to know the sin values, but when you actually see the calories, you're like, oh my god. So yeah, just find some support networks. So go and follow calorie counting people on Instagram, or go on Facebook and find some calorie counting support groups that you might want to follow. So one of the things again that I mentioned earlier is about the nutritional side of calorie counting. It is still so important to focus on quality of food. Otherwise it's highly unlikely you're going to spiral and go way over your calories, and then you're going to beat yourself up and all of that. So still try and think in the slimmer world mentality. So still try and put your free foods as the biggest part of your meals throughout the day, and snacks ideally. Then still think about, actually cereal's quite high in calories, so I'm still going to weigh that, like your healthy extras or your cereal bars, whatever. And then think, right, and I have got my calories that I can spend on things that I enjoy, like chocolate or a glass of wine or whatever. So still try and think about nutrition, because at the end of the day, it's about health as well. So yeah, you could lose weight eating a Big Mac every day, but it's not going to be very healthy, is it? So still try and think about that nutritional aspect of it. If you are going to do it for longer, then you don't need to worry about counting things like veg and stuff like that. Ben said to me about green veg, like don't worry too much about counting any of those sort of things. So that's good. And then what some people do moving forward, after they've got to their target, like I did it for 12 weeks solidly, is then they just do it like as and when. So say if I've got a holiday coming up, who knows when that's going to happen, and I want to strip some body fat off, then I could do it for like a couple of weeks. It isn't something that is designed to do all the time, you know. Some people do. It's all about you. It's all about what works for you. But it's about trying to make it a lifestyle, which is what Slim & World do really well. So once you become a target member, you can start having extra sins on certain days, you can start having more healthy extras. With calorie counting, how it works is, once you get to your target, then you slowly start backwards. So you'd slowly start then upping your calories. So not just going straight up really high, like if you're doing Slim & World, you're doing the plan 100% and then you just completely stop following it. It's gradually starting to reverse that cycle of calorie counting. So gradually, like for example, you might be on 1.5 and then you go up to 1.6 and then 1.7, basically just explaining that you're not going to be on a certain calories for the rest of your life, because nobody wants to do that. That's just going to be miserable. So I think that's everything that I wanted to say about calorie counting. And have you got any tips on it? Have you tried it? Have you done it? Or have you got any opinions on what you prefer, Slim & World, calorie counting? I think long term, Slim & World is absolutely amazing. You know, I lost my weight, kept it off for 20 years. I think Slim & World is fantastic and I'll always sing its praises. I think when you're a smaller person and you've got weight that you might want to strip off for a certain reason, and you're struggling, then calorie counting can really open your eyes to how much you're actually eating and drinking. So there's benefits of both. I don't prefer one over the other. I like both. Slim & World will always be part of the way I eat, but now I'm more mindful of the calories, and it's worked. You know, it's got me to a really good position. So any questions, drop them in the comments box below. Any comments, fabulous. You know, I love reading all your lovely comments, and if you've got any tips, please do share them down below too. So thank you so much for watching, guys, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.